This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be welcoming back my good friend Amanda Duchow Hall. She hasn't been on since my 5th anniversary conversations show back in 22, and this is the first full conversation we've had since late 2021. A lot has happened to her since then, and even just before. She's had a secret that I have kept very hidden in the last few years, that today she is going to come out with it, and I can't wait. It's something that's very disturbing and dark, and yet it's something that could be beneficial to everybody out there listening, and we're going to talk about it today. I'm not even going to say what it is yet because I'd rather her to bring it up first where it's fresh. And I can't wait to talk about it. And also, I want to bring up my sex addiction with her. I've seen that Netflix series, Baby Reindeer. I've had a lot of PTSD since I watched that thing. I feel like I'm Richard Gadd. It's a weird thing. He and I have so much in common, and we're going to dive deep and rectify that whole thing. And I can't wait. This is the day that I recorded my first interview with Diane Franklin. Can't believe it's been 7 years. Tomorrow it will be my 7th anniversary, and I can't wait. I'm going to have a special, wonderful interview for a lot of you out there listening, and it's going to be fantastic. And I couldn't have done this podcast the last 7 years without you all. So yeah, here is my new interview with Amanda Duchow Hall. Hey Amanda, welcome back. I've missed you. How you doing, darling?
Hey, Tommy, it's good to hear from you. I'm doing really, really well. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I've lived in Modesto for a year now. We're moving to another place next weekend, and pretty excited about that. I got a few health issues that I'm dealing with, but I'm gonna break through them like I always do. So I'm a happy guy.
I have no doubt you will do that.
Yeah, I mean,
First player, Palm Springs, love it, probably now more than ever. I'm working in vintage clothing in a high-end store, and, if there's any costume designers that need anything, we have everything from the atomic age, from the 30s to the atomic age. So,
right.
come on out and see me.
I will at some point. Me and my friends, we've been trying to figure out a schedule for that and stuff. He's got shit that he's dealing with and everything, but I am definitely going to go see you at some point in the future and stuff. But I'm curious, is that the job you were telling me about when you were on during our anniversary talk a few years ago, that you had a new job that you couldn't bring up at the time?
No, this is a different job. That job's finished.
Uh-huh.
And this is a different job. I run a vintage clothing store in Uptown Palm Springs called Iconic Atomic.
Love it.
It's not my store, but I do run it. The owner's name is Kat Slater. Anyone who knows vintage in Southern California knows exactly who she is. And it's a blast. It's just such a blast. I get to play with beautiful old clothes. As I call it, our store is turnkey vintage, which means that it's clean, it's steamed, it's sanitized, and it's ready to be put on and worn out the door. All the work is done for you. And I get to play with old, beautiful clothes every day. And I must tell you, meet some fascinating and sometimes famous people because they all come through Palm Springs.
Oh,
But now it's over 100, so we'll start to slow down.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. Well, before we get into more about that, I wanted to ask you. So, I've known about your stalker scenario for a few years now, and it's been a very well kept secret by me. So, tell the people listening, like, what happened and when was the timeline of when that started? Yeah.
were harassed and stalked by 3 people who met through us and all became friends. And I don't quite know what set it off. I do know that I made a comment at their house one night when I was pretty drunk, and I meant it one way, and they took it another way, and I decided not to be friends anymore. And then and it was 2021, St. Patrick's Day, right around St. Patrick's Day of 2021, and we it started the day of my husband's brother's funeral. We started to get random weird text messages saying horrible things about me and trying to cause a problem.
What the?
Husband and I, which doesn't work.
Wow.
And it escalated, and I tried to keep it as much of a secret and not talk about it on my end because I was living in absolute fear and terror. They did things like drive up to my area and go around neighborhoods that I live in, gated community, and other neighborhoods in Palm Springs that were pretty random, places I don't really go or visit, and using all my hashtags for all my social media. So I had to close my soap business because I was getting really weird stuff because of the hashtags being up. They put 8x10 photo stickers on vinyl, which I can't imagine how much money they spent on that, on stop signs and speed limit signs all over Palm Springs, saying that I was a crook and that I was a terrible person. And of course, the picture they used, they had drawn on and accentuated to make me look bad. And that was the first contact I had with the police, who made sure that all the signs got taken down, which was very nice. And then I was a big celebrity on Nextdoor because everybody was writing about it. And through Nextdoor, I found a great therapist to help me through it.
Yeah.
But they, can I cuss, Tommy?
Oh, fuck yeah. You can always swear on this podcast.
They sent cow ships to us anonymously in the mail that arrived the night before Thanksgiving when I was having my mother for Thanksgiving. And speaking of my mother, one Mother's Day, they sent my mother a card with a child's handwriting on the front, so my mother thought it was one of her godchildren, and opened it up to find a typed letter telling my mother all the things I plan to do with her money after she dies. And they seem to have it in their minds that I was going to dump my husband and run off to New Orleans to party. But actually, I quit drinking, so
That's good.
that didn't happen.
That's good.
And my mom and I actually got closer because my mother told me about how, she would plan things with her mother's money before she passed away. So we had a bonding moment over that. And they pretended to come and buy the house next door to us while they were looking in our windows, and they were looking in our driveway and taking pictures of my house. I have it all on video. Thank you, neighbors. And, it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. And, they wrote about personal medical information.
Yeah.
They wrote about, I am a birth parent, and they wrote about my child that I gave up for adoption. Probably found him and contacted him. I hate to think about that.
Oh my God.
They just said, I had someone send me an old one the other night that they accused me. One time I worked the governor's election here in California and in Los Angeles, and they made up a story that I got bored counting the votes, so I just started stuffing the ballots in my purse.
What the fuck?
It's the most MAGA thing, obviously.
Yeah.
And number 2, they make you lock up your handbag. They tell you not even to bring one. The only thing you're allowed to have is your phone. And if you leave the room to go use the bathroom, your pockets are checked. You know, it's a very serious thing. So I know that there's people that would like you to think that that is possible, but it's not. You know, just horrible, horrible lies. Some lies that were based in truth. I mean, I'm not a perfect person, but spun the wrong way, and it just went on and on and on. And I sound kind of right about it now because it seems to be over. It seems that I don't want to say what's gone on with all of them because it's sad.
Yeah.
And it's none of my business. Just as long as they've left me alone. But I will say that anyone that doesn't believe in karma really should.
Yeah.
And it was an absolutely terrifying time in our life. It happened, they sent the police here on welfare checks for my husband, using members of his family as the names, the people that were calling in the welfare checks. I actually have a text from one of the people who did that admitting to me that it was done. And other things like that. So it was an absolute horrible time. It was 21, 22, and 23 were parts of it living nightmares. But what I benefited from is, without physically hurting me, they basically did and tried everything. It's horrible to go through. You lose friends. It's hard to make new friends because people think you're crazy when you tell them about this. I always thought when someone told me about this that they were an absolute nutcase. They were really thought high of themselves that somebody would do that to them, but it's a real thing. It's a terrifying thing. I should have had them arrested.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be connected to them for the rest of my life. But there is an open police investigation that they will keep open for several years, just to be on the safe side. I don't have restraining orders because, again, don't want to be tied to them for the rest of my life. So, with a lot of therapy and hearing about things that have befallen them in the end, I feel as though I'm not afraid anymore. And I feel as though they can do whatever they want. I just don't care. I know who my true friends are, and I know who was there for me and who wasn't. And now all of a sudden, because things have happened, people have started to come back into my life. And I have to be honest with you, Tommy, I'll say the thing that nobody ever says, and that's that they can try as hard as they want, but I know everybody that wasn't there, that wouldn't respond, that or was mean and nasty to me, and I know who every single one of those people were, and they won't get an inch from me ever again. And so that's what's going on with my stalking.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell about what has happened, but I can't. I'm not afraid of the bear, but that doesn't mean I'm going to walk out into the forest with a stick and poke it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to live a nice, quiet, calm life here in the desert, and I don't need the blowback. And that's where my tip comes from talking to you, but that's okay. But for people that hear this, just know that I know.
Yeah.
But we're in a much better place. Ken is working on art. I love my job. I've got some side gigs going on. And things are pretty good here.
That is so awesome. But let me ask you though. Okay, so they were a couple that you met through mutual friends at a party. That's what happened?
It was a couple.
Yeah.
That we knew for many, many years, and it was another friend of mine from a different period of my life who met.
Got it.
At my wedding.
Got it. These two sound like a psycho couple you'd meet at a swinger club or something.
With them, it's entirely possible, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I sent them off into the universe with nothing but good and healing thoughts for them because I don't wish anyone intentionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that, Tommy, I'll tell you all about it off the phone, but I wish them all healing thoughts and vibes because they're all going to need them.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, about 20 years ago, my friend had an issue with a gang that was stalking him. Like, he knew them through somebody he knew, and for like 3 weeks he couldn't go into a McDonald's without being harassed by these guys. I mean, it was that bad. So one day he made it look like he wasn't home. The guys start making their way towards the garage. He opens the garage door, and out comes him and two other guys with very big assault weapons. And he said to them, "Remember the Alamo?" And they turned around and drove off, and he never saw them again.
Well, I think that is understandable because when you're in that kind of situation, you are willing to do anything you can in order to get them to stop. But I believe, I'm not quiet about it now, but I believe that being pretty much quiet was the thing that we're going to drive mine into.
Mm-hmm.
Because all they were trying to get was a response. And so I was not going to give it.
Yeah.
And it was really, really hard. You know, there were fantasies about people walking in front of a bus. You know, lots of things like that. But, you know, in the end, what I secretly hoped would happen somewhat actually did. And I don't have an assault rifle.
Mm-hmm.
They probably do, but I don't. So I had to work with what I had, and that was not knowing. So, but we're through it now. We're pretty much in a good place, and we're loving the desert.
Yeah, God, it's just so mind-boggling. I've never heard a case like that before, and I've heard a lot of stalking cases.
Well, I'm generalizing quite a bit of it. I mean, I can go into more detail about it, but I've actually been approached about being a part of an anthology series about stalking, and telling my story there. I may or may not do it. I'm also thinking about maybe writing a book about it.
I think you should. I think it could be, a true crime type of a thing. It could be true life, anything. Just if you put it to art, I think it'll turn out good.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It's not. I have good things happening right now, and it's not at the top of my list, but it is there in the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll you know how it is.
Of course.
We'll see who strikes next. Not soccer-wise, but I mean the entertainment industry. We'll see who strikes next. So, you can't do anything until all the strikes are solved. If I do want to do this series, so we'll see.
Did Ken ever try to go confront them?
Well, not really, because Ken is not that way, and I would not want to put him in harm's way.
Mm-hmm.
And the level of anger and malice, and ill will,
Yeah.
that I would never put him in the line of fire. The return of his stuff, because there was a lot of his things that had to be returned, was supposed to be a meeting of him and one of the people, and of course at the last minute they decided to just send somebody out here with it instead of coming themselves. So anyways, now that we've put it behind us.
That's good.
Unless it's going to give me a place to do something with it the way I want, and I'm scared I'm going to say it, that's going to make me some money, I'll dive back into it. But unless it's going to make me money, I'm not interested in doing it because I deserve something. I deserve my peace of mind, and I deserve all
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I really think you do at least have a book in there.
Oh, I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. But we shall see. I might do it as a novel.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been approached about it. I've also been approached recently about selling my archive of still photos.
Oh, that would be interesting. I mean, you got, a lot of stories there. I know that.
Yep, and there's a Vogue cover in there, 2 album covers in there. There's some really interesting, not a Vogue cover, did I just say cover?
Yeah.
Vogue photo, not a cover, let me clear that up right away. People magazine, stuff like that, so it's kind of exciting, and I would like someone to take it and preserve it because it doesn't really get seen. So I'd like to have it. There's a lot of stuff that I worked on that I was that never happened, never has been released or is tied up in litigation, stuff like that I've never been able to show. So I would like to have it archived where it could be shown. Because people haven't seen all my work. Oh, to be clear, the people that I was talking about earlier, they also claim that none of my photos are my own. So, but they are, and I'm looking forward to having them archived, I think.
Oh, yeah, of course, they're always going to say stuff like that. Screw them.
Exactly. So that's what's happening here. Now, what's going on with you? I haven't talked to you in so long. I don't know what's going on with you.
Well, oh my God. So have you seen that new Netflix series, Baby Reindeer?
I have been avoiding Baby Reindeer.
Well, I got to tell you, Richard Gadd.
So you can understand.
Richard Gadd is me in so many ways. And I've had PTSD since I watched that series. Bisexual sex addict, chronic masturbator, codependent. In my early years, I let so many people gaslight me because their compliments and lies felt good in that moment, not knowing they were lies. And so I got so much PTSD from watching it. And the last couple of months have been very weird, I'll tell you. Okay, I'm not gonna name names. Some
someone I know.
Yes. I read a book written by somebody in the horror community.
Okay.
And I got jealous as to how this person found their mate. And that has been the furthest from my mind in the last 9 years since my car crash. I have not wanted to be with anybody, but reading this book and finding out how they met and finding out that I was in the same situation they were in at that time in the same year, it was really, really strange. And since then, I've been crying an awful lot. I've been, just feeling like, oh my God, constantly feeling like, am I going to find the one? Am I going to meet somebody? I don't know what sparked it. It was just jealousy is what it was, and it's nothing against them. They're both awesome people, but it's just like when I found out how they met, it was just like I felt so jealous.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
It's like I always felt like you go to dinner with a couple.
Yeah.
I have a friend here who I'm not going to mention.
Uh-huh.
And, we go to dinner with them occasionally, and I enjoy both of their companies so much, and I enjoy them, I really enjoy spending time with both of them, or with one of them, who is a close friend of mine. But when I look at them across the table, I'm always like, just amazed at how they make it work.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it as the perfect relationship. For me, it's the perfect relationship. But, you don't know that it's the perfect relationship. Show me one that is.
Yeah.
And so it's understandable to be jealous, but you just have to think about the fact that you don't have all the details. You don't know what happens behind closed doors.
Oh, well, that's none of my business. I don't care about that if it's perfect or not. I'm just jealous of how they got to that point. You know what I mean?
Well, now you go out and you have to do it for yourself.
Yeah. It's just, they met playing pop culture trivia, and like I was a pop culture trivia champion in that same year, 2013, which was the year that everything started to go downhill for me for a couple of years until my accident. And it's just like I didn't fall in love that year. I drank beer, won prizes, and pissed everybody off, and it just makes me just feel so ashamed.
Yeah, but, you can't, we all have to learn that, we can't go back in time and change things. There's no Bill and Ted,
Of course.
no phone booth. So we have to, I looked at my stalker situation, my harassment situation, and I don't think this happened out of the blue. It happened over time, and I was so into wanting to be what they were that I had friends and I had just lost track of myself. And that was part of what my part in allowing it to happen was. And I know now not to ever let that happen again. And we can't change the past, but we can change the future. I know that's corny as hell.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to look at it. Maybe take yourself to a trivia night and be a nice guy. If you don't have any beer.
Oh yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, my mom and I, we went to trivia night before the pandemic hit. When we were still in Reading, the Round Table had Round Table Pizza had a trivia night and stuff. And yeah, there was no drinking, but I don't mind doing that. It's just I just like where am I going to meet the one if it's not going to be at trivia night? Where's it going to be?
Well, let me tell you something. Yeah, I know you know the story of Ken and I. And I met Ken almost 20 years before we had a proper date. So you might have already met the person.
I just turned 40 last year, and I got a track record of staying in the friend zone with every woman I have ever known and stuff. They all say, I know you too well, and I don't think I can handle it, and we don't have the same, views on certain things and all of that crap. And it's just, I've never been able to, ask out a friend and have them say yes in that way.
And I get that. But you have to step outside the comfort zone, my friend.
How do I do that?
You put one foot, take a deep breath, you put one foot in front of the other, and you see a girl that interests you, and you just walk, or a guy, or whatever, and just walk up to them and say, hello. I don't mean to sound strange, but I think I'd like to know more about you. If you're interested in knowing more about me, why don't we meet for a beer one day?
Coffee, in my case, not because I don't drink anymore.
Coffee. Let's go meet for coffee.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you just gotta. You remember when I was a kid, Tommy? I don't like cold water.
Okay.
Swimming pools would usually be a little too cold for my personal preference. So I would get I'd put my feet in, my ankles in on the first step, and I'd get down to like the third step where it hit like around my waist, my hips, that area. Then I would get out and walk all the way around the pool. So I got cold. So then when I got back in, the water would feel warmer. And I'd go down a little further. And I'd do this like 3 or 4 times. And one day it dawned on me, if I just jumped right in and stood outside for the pool for a minute and got back in, it would feel lovely. And I was just running circles for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't until 2008 when I had my breakup with my ex. I started just, I felt sorry for myself for a couple of months, and I was really, really depressed. And then I started going on the dating websites, which I do not recommend those or the apps because they're just you're meeting people who just want sex. Let's face it, at the end of the day, that's all they're looking for, really. At least in my case, that's how it was. And I realized what an exhibitionist and a voyeur I was, so I started hanging out with swinger couples, and they started inviting me to join the fun. And I had been going to adult bookstores and watching nudie booths since I was 21, so that's as far as it had gone up to that point, And, I had a girlfriend who was a dominatrix for a while that I wish I could have married, but I was a drunken mess by that point. And then I was dating a polyamorous girl that I had met through a friend of mine, and she didn't really play matchmaker with us. It was just, the three of us hanging out, and it morphed into a relationship until my accident happened. And that's as far as like my dating life has been ever since. I just been, trying to focus on myself. But what I've learned is I still got a long way to go.
Well, I think it's time that we just get back on the horse, as it were.
Okay.
Or you get back on the hoe. However you... Sorry, I thought that was funny.
Do you know that
I will help you do that. I will be of assistance if I can.
do you know that radio host out in LA, Sheena Metal?
I know who she is, yes.
I had her on the podcast recently, and then she had me go on her psychic podcast to ask a question. And I had a question, and it was regarding what I just told you about that book I read and that whole situation. And she told me, she said, you have to feel good in yourself, and from my reading right now, it doesn't seem like you're in that place. And so I would suggest, feeling better about yourself, and the right one will come along.
That's very true.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very true as well.
Yeah.
And so you gotta work at it. And I can't recommend therapy strongly enough.
I tried it 20 years ago.
I had a therapist that was great when I was going through all this stuff, but they moved and they weren't doing online, and I haven't had one for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I did, but it was like a state through Medi-Cal, and it was terrible. She was terrible. So I have been without one. I need a therapist that really focuses on trauma. And Tommy,
mm-hmm.
I was in a parking lot of a tiki event 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette, and this man walked up to me and asked me what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I explained the event. I took out a cigarette, and he looked at me with a strange look, and I said, "Oh, I won't light this till we're done talking. Don't worry." And he said, "No, can I have one?" And I said, "Of course. There's not that many of us left." So he had one, and we started talking, and he lived here, and I asked him what he did. He told me he was a lawyer, and then he told me he was also a therapist. And we had an appointment within 3 days, and he is the best therapist I've ever had in my life.
So it was just a chance meeting that turned into
chance meeting. And if I can find, I've always felt like therapy was paying someone to be my friend. But this person actually really, really comes back at me with questions and makes me think about things that affect my behavior, because I'm realizing I'm actually having like oh my God moments like every week in therapy, and it's fascinating, and I'm absolutely loving it. Now, a therapist isn't a romantic partner, but it just goes to show.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just talked to my boss that day about finding a new therapist, and there he was, just out of the blue, in a parking lot. So you never know. You just can't be thinking about it all the time, and you need to put yourself first.
Mm-hmm.
Which can be hard, but once you actually know how to do that, you're going to be in a much better space. I'm telling you, it shows. Have you seen my pictures on social media lately?
Yeah, you look great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because I've never been good at putting myself first, so now I am doing that, and I feel pretty good about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've always thought you looked good, so I don't know what you're doing now, but I don't see much of a difference other than that I know that you're happier now that all that bullshit with the stalking has died down. I know that.
Um, yeah, that's part of it. But part of it is, we're all our own worst critics. But because of the stalking and other things that I've been through recently,
Mhm.
it's made me so hard on myself, so hard on myself that I never feel like I've ever done anything right or accomplished anything. Me and one other woman just put together a big fashion show in
Mhm.
LA by ourselves, and I was feeling no sense of accomplishment over that. And it's like I do good things and I am accomplishing things, and I've decided to give myself a break. And when
That's
you
good.
give yourself a break and you let the light in a little bit, it really changes things up.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Did I tell you how I lost my virginity?
No.
Okay, when I was 18, like the night of graduation, I lost my virginity to my high school guidance counselor.
Right on.
Yep. She came to the school when I was a junior in high school, and I had her a lot. And she was always like asking me to come to her office because there was a weird attraction going on. But it wasn't until the night of my graduation that it was consummated.
You
And
were 18, correct?
I was 18 when the virginity loss happened. Yes.
Okay. Just checking.
Yes. And it was fantastic, and I've always been attracted to older women. I dated a lot of older women in my 20s, and whenever I had someone my own age, which was very rare, there was no connection, because they liked the same kind of classic film and television and everything and music and everything that I liked. That one I had in 2008, she was 2 years older than me, and the one I had in 2013, who was a dominatrix, she was 4 years younger than me. They were like the perfect ones for me at that point in time, but I guess it was just inevitable that I would break up with them. But yeah, I mean, I look back fondly at that night, and I feel like I'm in good company with Benjamin Braddock in The Graduate. you know,
One of my top 5 movies of all time.
yes, it's great from start to finish. I've interviewed a couple people from it. Dick Miller's wife Lainey was the stripper in the bar in that one scene, and then there's that rich family, and there's the blonde boy. There, Wayne Stamm. I've interviewed him. He was almost a regular on My Favorite Martian at that time, but the show got canceled before he could make another appearance.
You
But
want to say hi to the illustrious Kenneth J. Hall? Because he just walked in the room.
sure thing,
Hi, who's this?
Ken. It's Tommy Kovac. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, what's new?
Podcast. Tommy.
Oh, okay.
Tommy, I love you and I am here for you, and I wish I could talk longer, but I have a friend that has been staying with me and he's getting ready to leave.
Oh yes.
So I'm going to have to jump off, but I would love to come back and continue this conversation and see how you're doing.
Oh, yes. Well, we could talk unrecorded for that, but for the most part, I want to thank you for coming back on and that we could finally get that story out because I know it had been bugging you for so long.
Yeah. I wish I could be more detailed, but at this point I can't.
Hmm.
And I adore you, and when I come back on next time, we'll talk about movies
Yes, I want to.
and lists of movies. That's
Oh,
the next thing I want to talk about.
yes, I want to talk about like film, television, and music that we grew up loving and stuff. That would be a great conversation to have.
Absolutely.
Okay, you have yourself a great night. Be safe out there, and take good care of both of you.
I will do. Thank you, Tommy. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, there you have it. Amanda Duchow Hall. Oh my God, I just love her so much. It was great that we could talk just for a little bit there, about the stalker and my sex addiction and all that fun stuff. And I'm very happy. that we could do that. God, the whole stalker issue thing. The stalking has been going on for a long time. I don't know what gets inside the heads of people who commit stalking. It's just so friggin' unreal. It's like, can't you fucking take a hint, bro? Or better yet, just the sociopaths who love just ruining other people's lives. It's just so fucking awful. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes.